On behalf of the people of Kauai, I would like to officially welcome and extend a warm aloha to our governor, David Ige, and his lovely wife, Dawn Ige. Thank you, Governor, for being with us tonight. As you all know, Governor Ige has been hosting a series of public meetings throughout Hawaii's community colleges, and tonight's event is the governor's first neighbor island visit. And we're very privileged. For Kauai to share Initiatives and accomplishments, and of course to hear back from our wonderful community. I know that many of you are here tonight because you care about our community. Of course, Kauai is a very special place, as you all know Kauai anyhow. And I hope all of us here will show the same aloha to our governor and his team, who are assembled right before us to share the aloha with us and some of the great things that they're doing and some of the areas that we need to talk about. And let's understand that Kauai holds a special place in the hearts of the Iges, or Mr. and Mrs. Ige, let's say, who spent their honeymoon here years ago. Just for information, everybody. So with that, I'd like to officially welcome them. Like I said, one big issue that happened for us, good thing, is our Tiger Grant. And the Tiger Grant, working closely with the governor and his staff and his team, allowed us to secure that $13.8 million grant. It's going to transform our community into walkable, bikeable, complete streets, safe routes to school, all of that. As we continue to take that So with that, I'd like to introduce tonight's moderator, Kauai's own, very own Senator and Senate President, Ron Kochi.
Welcome and thank you for attending the Governor's third Community Connection Forum, an effort to reach out to communities across the state. What you can expect tonight, you'll hear from the Governor and a few of Governor Ige's cabinet. You'll also hear from Mrs. Ige. Tonight we'll hear a short presentation from Scott Morishige. Scott's the homeless coordinator. And you'll also be hearing from Ray McCormick. He's the administrator of the Highways Division. But more importantly, for many years, he was the district highway engineer here on Kauai, and his talents here on Kauai were recognized by DOT Director Ford Fujigami, and he stole him to Oahu, so it's great to welcome Ray back tonight. Also joining us here from the Governor's cabinet, who will be helping to field questions, are Ford Fujigami, the Director of Transportation, Scott Denwright, the Chairman of the Department of Agriculture, Galen Kawakami is with DLNR, and he's in the Department of Forest and Wildlife. Where's Galen? Oh, right here. Galen works hard for us here on Kauai. If you remember earlier this year, he was recognized on the front page of the Star Advertiser, coordinating the program of taking the trees that burned in Kauai and having them go to green energy and create renewable energy. So it's a real pleasure to have a great Kauai employee like Galen here. Also, we have Bruce Anderson from DLNR, the Aquatics Resources Chief, and Dr. Virginia Pressler from the Department of Health. Now, when they gave me the script, this part was exciting. I'm an old guy, so I don't know about the technology. But there is going to be an interactive poll. So get your cell phones ready, and someone who knows about how this works will be coming out later, and they will be explaining to you how you can participate with your cell phones. And I know it's going to be your regular text charges, and so if you're like me, I don't know much, but I have unlimited texting. The Governor and Cabinet will also answer the top questions from you, the community, so don't forget to submit your questions on index cards found at the welcome table. And I'm told that you already have been busy doing that, so that's not going to be a problem. So we'd like to start the evening by please welcoming Governor David Ige.
Aloha. It truly is an honor and privilege for me to be back on Kauai, and this certainly has been a date that I've had circled on my calendar for some period of time, looking forward to when I would be able to get back and have an opportunity to meet and talk with you. Before I get into my speech this evening, I just wanted to talk a little bit and thank people who are near and dear to your heart. You know, this administration really has been about collaboration and working with all levels of government, really to deliver better services to all of you. And I just wanted to acknowledge your mayor, Mayor Cavallo, who's been working with Fort Fuchigami and the Department of Transportation. You know, the Tiger Grant that was awarded to Kauai was truly a great effort on behalf of your mayor, on behalf of all of you. You know, it's been more than a decade, right, Ford, that anyone in Hawaii has received a Tiger Grant. And it's very unusual. Let me just say that by all of the standard guidelines, Kauai would never ever get a Tiger Grant based on the definitions and the way that the federal government defines regional projects. And your mayor refused to take no for an answer and really worked with us to put all the pieces in place and was successful in getting that Tiger Grant. So I just wanted to acknowledge and recognize Mayor Bernard for you. I do want you to also know that you have a terrific delegation of House and Senate members representing you at the state capitol. And Senate President Kochi has really been involved with us and has helped us work through this challenge that we've been having with the Federal Aviation Administration regarding Lihue Airport. You know, and they put in new guidelines that truly jeopardize the way that we operate the airport. And obviously, that would have had a significant impact on the economy of Hawaii if we in Hawaii had to implement the letter of the law from the federal government in providing service at Lihue Airport. So Senate President Ron Kochi has been really working with us and the congressional delegation to really explain to the federal government how Lihue Airport is different than other airports, and that the specific requirements that they have in the new guidelines really cannot be implemented at Lihue Airport in the way that it would be applied in other jurisdictions. So we were just informed this morning, in fact, from the FAA that they will acknowledge that Lihue Airport is different, and that we will be able to propose a mitigation plan that ultimately complies with the federal guidelines in a different way than other airports around the country. So I just wanted to let you know that Senate President Kochi has really been a valuable assistant to us in working through this issue with the federal government. And it truly has made an impact on your behalf to ensure that Lihue Airport can continue to operate, that we acknowledge that there are new federal regulations that we will deal with, and we'll be working with the federal government to fall back into compliance at some future time. But we don't want for it to severely impact the operations at Lihue Airport. So I just wanted to ask you to thank Senate President Kochi. So we have a great program lined up, and I don't want to be talking too much because we do want to have time to respond to your questions. And we brought a group of cabinet members based on some of the issues that we know are near and dear to your heart. So with that, let me just, it's great to be here on Kauai Community College. We are holding these community sessions all across the state because we know that the future of our communities really is driven by what happens at these institutions. We need to prepare our citizens for with 21st century skills. We need to prepare, and today the student is not the typical student, the graduate of high school. Everyone is into lifelong learning, and the students range in age from 18 to probably 60 or 70 today, really wanting to have the skills that they need to be effective in a rapidly changing workplace. And engagement with our communities are so important because we want to make sure that we can connect people with jobs here in the local community so that we can ensure that there is a consistent pipeline to fill the jobs here on island. This past year, we have been working on the foundation of state government. We know that in order for us to be successful, we need to make things right in order to make things happen. And so we have been focused really on the core of government. It's not flashy or dramatic, but it really is fundamentally important. It enables us to really be able to deliver more to all of you in terms of services at reduced cost. We have been focused on restructuring and changing the way we manage state government. We have been focused on being smart in how we run government and manage taxpayer dollars. I have personally focused on selecting good leaders, and I'm proud of the cabinet members who have decided to choose public service and have given up opportunities in the private sector to really join and become part of the team. And they've done a terrific job in finding ways for government to be more efficient and effective moving forward. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the ways and about some of the changes that we have been successful in making. Wanting to talk and start with prisons. You may recall the many stories that have been in the paper about family visitations being canceled with football flu commonly just because of a lack of staffing. We have focused on managing our prisons better. I just wanted to let you know that we have not had a cancellation of family visitations since last January due to staffing shortage. Thank you very much. We have been very focused on managing the people better. We have decreased overtime in the prison systems by 16%, saving more than $1 million a year since coming to office. We have been looking for those things that allows government to be more efficient, and we launched a paperless initiative. As some of you may know, I'm very much involved with taking the state legislature paperless and really expanding public access to government through the state legislative website. So we are in the process of taking the state of Hawaii paperless. And I truly believe in leading by example. So the governor's office led the paperless initiative, and we've gone since September to be paperless, to encourage the departments to really submit requests for approval to the governor's office paperless. I think more importantly, you need to know we have paperless initiatives in virtually every department, looking at investments we can make in technology to be more efficient and effective on behalf of you, making a difference each and every day. And part of that, I believe, is as more and more of government moves to paperless, then we can improve transparency because those documents, once electronic, can be made available and accessible to the general public. And I do know from my experience in the Hawaii State Senate that we will see a significant reduction in the cost of providing services to you, the people, as we become more and more or has reduced paper in state governments in all facets. Wanting to talk a little bit about federal spending, and we made a focus of that because I think it's so important that we accept every federal dollar that we can. More importantly, that we live up to what the federal government is asking us in terms of spending those federal dollars in a timely manner. I'm proud of the fact that we reduced the backlog of federal highway projects by more than $100 million in this first year. I just wanted to acknowledge Fort Fujigami for that effort. We are definitely spending more and are focused in being smarter about how we queue up federal projects in order that we can get to the targeted expenditure levels that the federal government expects of us. And the challenge going forward is really to work that backlog down to the level that the federal government finds acceptable so we can pursue more federal dollars for our highway system. We have also been focused on the core of government in establishing a strong fiscal and financial foundation. We have been looking at ensuring that we have the appropriate fiscal reserves, and we just completed this administration's first bond float, $750 million in general obligation and other bonds. I think more importantly, we got our bond rating agencies to upgrade the outlook on Hawaii. There was an improvement because of our fiscal management in the bond rating, which resulted in the state of Hawaii getting a 2.6% interest rate for that $750 million bond float. It's amongst the lowest interest rates that the state has ever gotten for their general obligation bonds. And I think most importantly, that means that we can deliver more projects for all of you at a reduced cost because the debt service is significantly lower than they would be otherwise. We have also been smarter about how we spend your tax dollars, and I'll give you just one example. We have restructured payments to the pension system and the unfunded liability for health benefits for retirees. And purely by restructuring and being smart about when we make those payments, we are projected to save more than $1 billion over the next 20 years. You know, I think that allows us to maximize the tax dollar that we get from you. More importantly, that will reduce the unfunded liability because we are being smarter about how we use your tax dollars to fulfill the commitments to retirees all around the state. One more thing about technology is our tax modernization project. You know, we awarded that contract, and the good news is that we are ahead of schedule and under budget. And we established a tax fraud unit within the Office of Taxation because we want to make sure that everyone pays their fair share of taxes. In the first year of operation, the tax fraud unit had identified more than $21 million in tax fraud that we stopped. And we do know, and that's just using manual methods of going through tax returns and tax filings and trying to identify those that have the highest potential for fraud. We do know that as we implement the tax modernization system, we will see more and more tax dollars coming in because people will know that we will not allow tax fraud to happen without some challenge. We've made significant changes in information technology and giving our employees the tools they need to be successful. We've changed the way that the state does IT in state government. We've canceled procurements that we believe we couldn't afford. We've terminated contracts and sought recovery of any state taxpayer dollars when consultants fail to perform. And thirdly, we've restructured the information technology department within state government and modernized the job classification system to allow us to attract and retain the best and the brightest IT workers, because we do know that the more we can keep the capacity in-house, the less we will rely on external consultants. So it's been very important for us to move forward in this way so that we can equip our employees with the tools they need to be successful. In the area of environment, we did complete the Hyena fishing area rules. It's a result of more than a decade of work, a commitment to community engagement and engagement of the community, not only in establishing the rules, but in helping to enforce the rules. It is something that is on our books, and we are looking at expanding it into other areas. And we also completed the Hyena State Park Master Plan. After several years of working with the community, we do believe that this will allow a good blueprint on how we move forward with the Hyena State Park. In agriculture, we completed the multi-million-dollar stream restoration project. So the Hanalei Stream is again flowing freely to many area cattle farmers. I know that there was some problems in the past, and we are happy that we are able to restore stream flow in Hanalei. Thank you. Looking forward, our commitment to 100% renewable energy for electricity generation by 2045 has gained worldwide acknowledgement. As I've traveled to Okinawa and Guangdong and Korea and Japan, I can tell you that there is lots of interest in partnering with the state of Hawaii because they are aware that we are the only community on the planet that is committed to a totally renewable future. So it really is a great job opportunity. I do know that if we are successful in moving off of fossil fuels and into a renewable energy environment, we can reinvest more than $6 billion that are currently leaving our state to purchase fossil fuels and reinvest those dollars, creating jobs in our community to deliver better energy services and economic activity, and most importantly, create jobs. So I just wanted to thank you very much for choosing to be here. I think I'm just going to close my remarks at this point. I wanted to let you know that we have a number of directors here, and we do know that there may be lots of questions that you have. I'll be here and be available. But I just wanted to thank you and ask you to engage and join our administration. We are committed to community engagement. We know that there will be many tough decisions that will need to be made going forward. State of Hawaii cannot be all things to all people. And we want to work with you to identify the type of future that you want and the type of Hawaii that you want to be to our children and our children's children. So thank you very much for being here, and look forward to have the opportunity to meet and talk with all of you here tonight. Mahalo.
Before you introduce the First Lady, I have two housekeeping measures. As the governor said, it takes a great team, and Kauai has the smallest contingent in the state legislature. But we're honored to have from West Kauai and the House Representative P. Morikawa. And while I was, elated that we were successful with the FAA, the person who made the introduction, so I got to know the administrator of the FAA, is Representative Jimmy Tokioka, representing Central Kauai. On the right is right, the Representative Paul Kami from Kauai on the North Shore, make it. If not, I see right in front of me, Councilmember Joanne Yukimura. Joanne. Okay, council members Mason, Chop, or Harold Kaneshiro. If not, the last housekeeping measure before introducing the First Lady is the governor has a difficult time in bragging. The reason why we could get the bond interest rates that we did, and we could get the savings that we did, when he was the Ways and Means Chairman, he pushed through a measure that committed us on a financial plan to pay our obligations to our retirees, both in the employee retirement system and the health fund. And it was nationally recognized, and Hawaii's bond rating moved up, and it put us in a unique position to be in financial markets and enjoy the success that we had because of a plan that was laid out by the governor when he was in the Senate. So he must have known he was going to inherit the job. With that, it's a privilege to introduce First Lady Ige.
Thank you, everyone. It's just a pleasure to be here on Kauai. This is the first time I'm speaking as part of the town hall meeting, so I'll be very brief. I just wanted to share with you some of the things I'm doing as First Lady this past year, and largely because I'm an educator, education has been close to my heart. Some of the things I've been working on is global education from the K-12 to college level. You know, it's with the understanding that our students are 21st century learners, and as part of that, they need to be able to be global learners, understand and appreciate the different cultures, the economic diversity throughout the world. So we're looking at programs that help children understand that and go on to high school with different school partnerships in the Asia Pacific area to student exchanges when they're in college. Because that not only helps with education, but it is an economic benefit to the state of Hawaii as well. The other area that I'm working on in education is empowering schools and administrators and teachers. And it's really looking at good examples of it. So we're developing a recognition program to recognize the good examples of school empowerment. Reading is the third area that I'm also working on. It's reading to different classrooms. I visited many schools, and I hope to come out to Kauai more often so I can read to classrooms there. And finally, I wanted to share with you that I'm working with Dr. Pressler and her team on Choose Healthy Now, encouraging everybody to live a healthy lifestyle, eating, exercising, and doing healthy things to reduce our rate of obesity, diabetes, and to encourage healthy living. So thank you, and again, it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to speaking with more of you.
Now for some new technology, we have Cindy McMillan to give us the full interactive. And she hasn't been reading her script, so we call her very top of the auditorium. See, in this paper saving, when we print in the Senate, if it is on paper, you have to print on the front and back. All because of Governor Ige.
Thank you, Senate President. Sorry for the delay. So, show of hands, how many people have a cell phone tonight? Excellent. Now is your time for us to hear from you. You know, we're from Oahu, so we got to get things right from you. All right. This is going to be an interactive phone poll using your text messaging function on your phone. So if you wish to participate, take out your phone now and open up your text messages. And while you're doing that, let me just say that this poll is anonymous and your cell phone numbers will not be saved. That bears repeating, it's anonymous, and your cell phone numbers will not be saved. So, once you have your cell phone open, also, I just wanted to let you know that standard texting rates apply, but there is no extra charge for participating. So if you're like Senate President and you have unlimited texts, you should be just fine. All right, so open up a new message. Create a new message. Are you all with me? Okay. Text the phrase GovEGE, and that's G-O-V-I-G-E, no space. 6 letters, G-O-V-IGE, and you're texting it to the number 2233. 22333. So once again, 22333, and the letters are GovEGE, G-O-V-I-G-E. You should see a reply that says, you've joined Governor Ige's session. Now, if you're like me and the first time you did this, your spell check wouldn't let me in, and I think I was in somebody's poll about ice. Okay, is everybody ready to begin? All right, so the first question, and I'm not sure everybody can see it from where you're sitting, so I'm going to read it. Are you ready for the holidays? And if you are, text A for yes. If you're not, text B for no. And if you're not even remotely ready, that's a C. And you can see the results right there on the screen. Most people, looks like most people are ready.
This is so cool.
Okay, looks like, wow, most people have already done their shopping, they're already ready to go. I have to confess that I've fallen in not remotely. I'm going to go on to question 2 now. To what extent does traffic affect your daily, to what extent does traffic affect your daily commute? If it's a lot, it's A. If it's somewhat, you should choose B. And if it's not at all, you should choose C. And that not at all is shrinking very rapidly. If you have more than one phone, you might be skewing it.
Stop lying.
So it looks like a lot, somewhat, not at all, getting some last minute action here. So kind of split on that one, kind of split. All right, let's next one. Would you support an increase in gas tax if it meant improving roadways? A is yes, B is no, and C, you're unsure. I will. Would you support an increase in the gas tax if it meant improving roadways? And the 3 options are yes is A, no is B, and unsure is C. That's pretty quick. Not a lot of time. Okay, looks like the yeses have it by a Ray might have something to do with that. Next question. How hard is it to find affordable housing on Kauai? Very difficult is A, somewhat difficult is B, somewhat easy is C, and very easy is D. It looks like an overwhelming response. That's an overwhelming response. Do you know someone who has been impacted by homelessness or the lack of affordable housing?
It's A. It's A.
Again, it's pretty overwhelming. A is yes. So this is, do you know someone who's been impacted by homelessness or the lack of affordable housing? And A is yes, and B is no. So again, it's pretty overwhelming majority. Do you see homelessness as a problem on Kauai?
It should be 100%.
What are our choices?
What's the choices?
Oh, sorry, the choices, I'm sorry. Do you see homelessness as a problem on Kauai? A is big problem, B is small problem, and C is no problem.
Small problem. Right now it's a big problem.
Okay, if there was more affordable housing on Kauai, would it make your living situation easier? A is yes, B is no. All right. No, this is when you get to tweet and use them. Okay, of the following, which is most important to you? A is the economy, B is education, and C is the environment. So if you had to choose again, the question is of the following, which is most important to you? A is the economy, B is education, and C is the environment.
If you're smart enough, you know that the economy fixes both facilities.
Economy, education, and environment. Okay, next question. Is it more important for Kauai residents to have cheaper electricity or to decrease carbon emissions? A is cheaper electricity. B is decreased carbon emissions. Is it more important for Kauai residents to say have cheaper electricity or to decrease carbon emissions? A is cheaper. I think we'll need to make a change in this program. Sounds like there's an option C is being requested. Vote.
Yeah.
There usually are more than two. How important will it be for Hawaii to reach our goal of 100% renewable energy by 2045? A is very important, B is somewhat important, and C is not important. Looks like votes still being cast. All right. And we have another option here. Of the following, which is the most important to you? Affordable health care is A, higher paying jobs is B, and workforce housing is C. If you had to choose, which would be most important to you? Affordable health care, A, higher paying jobs, B, or workforce housing, C?
I don't think
Okay, it looks like most people have voted on this one. Yeah.
I think the last that came out said that they could support like 462,000.
All right, the last question, besides Hawaii, what's your favorite island? Oahu is A, B is Maui, C is Hawaii, D is Lanai, E is Molokai, or you have a choice on F on Las Vegas.
Thank you, Sister
All right, thank you for participating in the poll. I know we do have an opportunity for questions and answers coming up, and I'll turn it over to Senate President. Thank you.
No sharing the light, but we have the governor's, I see at the very back, the governor's liaison on Kauai, Carice Castillo Gardner, who will be bringing forward the vote cards with the questions. So we'll get to that right after we hear first from Ray McCormick, the Highways Administrator for Hawaii, and after Ray, we'll have Scott Morishige, the Homeless Coordinator, briefly, and then to the questions.
Exactly.
I gotta get on my last minute instructions. It's good to be home.
I don't know.
When you get off the plane, you just feel that calming effect of Kauai.
I'll try something too.
But I do want to talk to you tonight a little bit about projects and projects that are ongoing, design projects that are coming up, and some projects that are not even on the list, which I know some of you will ask me about, so I'll let you know about them anyway. Construction, and the other construction ones. And for those of you on the west side, Kauai, Highway, we've got a lot of paving going on. Those are some of the largest paving projects in the state. And we did that so we could get in and get it done and get out of the way. So we are in your way a little bit, sometimes a lot. But you'll notice those first 4 projects there. If you think about phase 1 goes from Halfway Bridge down toward Kauai. Phase 2, Kauai down toward Waimea. And phase 3 on Kauai goes from Waimea on down toward Piamaria, Ikaha. Those are in different phases of completion. We're going to complete phase 1 in the spring. Phase 2 will come along. It's pretty well done, so we're almost out of the way. Phase 3 being something that'll come up in a couple of months. We're going to work on the striping, and I hope you do notice as you drive the roads on Kauai, we've done a lot more work with raised pavement markers so you can see the roads better at night, because these are not well-lit roads. We do have birds, shearwater in particular. And we do keep the lights low. The Kipu to Halfway Bridge project, that's a project that's just starting up. Those of you who do come in and out of the Humane Society, we're actually putting a pocket lane in there to make it safer as you make that left. I don't know if it's, I didn't get a chance to drive down, but hopefully it's coming along. So it took us a while to get there, but it is definitely needed. I think it's one time or another, I think we all go in and out of that Humane Society. I know my daughter is a dog and horse and cat lover, so she's down there a lot. I didn't build this for her, but now Willie Road improvements, that's right in front of the mall. It's a project that's what we call a design build. We're a contractor, we took proposals. We got the best value project is what we got. It's a concrete roadway just like the rest of the Kauai Highway. That we're hoping to finish up in March. I was hoping to be finished by now, but there are weather problems and other issues that hit construction projects. Waimea Town, we will come back in and pave that next year. That's a small resurfacing project. Kuhio Highway down, and those of you that way north, mile marker 16.8, as you drive toward the north, you will start feeling, you don't even have to look at the mile marker. That's one of my rougher portions of the roadway. You will feel it. So you kind of know when you're down there. We've got a little bit more paving we want to do that direction, but we're going to catch that project in the next year. Kumo Road's got some slope stabilization issues, and for all of us who live here, we know that when we get the good rains, things slide, and the mountains slide down on the road, we close the road down. Kauai invasive species. That's a project that's going to be removing a lot of albizia trees. That project has been in the works now for a couple of years. That Kauai area does have lots and lots of albizia. That project will probably remove, last count, more than 2,300 albizia trees. We will be replanting with native species, and we will be maintaining those species to make sure they take off and grow. So it'll be something different than an albizia, and we hope to drown the albizia out. No guarantees, but we're going to do our best on that. Design projects. Bridge 7E, we're going to be replacing. Bridge 7E is down Kauai Highway at mile marker 7. If you blink, you won't see it. You don't know it's there, but it's there, and it's in bad enough shape that we do need to replace it. The Hanapepe Bridge, we're actually going to come in and do a detour bridge beside that bridge next year. And the reason we're doing a detour bridge is so that when we work on that highway, that's one of the biggest complaints from people. Why do you guys get in our way? And yes, we do get in the way, but we're trying to make things better. So please bear with us, and I thank all of you for your patience on that side of the island, because you've seen a lot of construction over the last year. Those detour bridges will be put in first, and then we will come in at the following year as funds become available, and we will do the work on the permanent structures. Kuhio Highway Bridge Rehab down in Wainiha. Those of us who go on it go way down to the North Shore. We're doing some detour bridges down there as well, because we've got to get equipment down to some of the projects that we'll be doing on Bridge 1, 2, and 3, which are, and beauty is in the eye of the beholder when you're an old bridge guy. We've got acro steel bridges down there, just like in Wailua. And a lot of folks think they're ugly. They're actually not that ugly, but we are going to replace them with bridges that more fit the historic nature of that highway. This guardrail projects, you'll see guardrail and shoulder improvement projects. Those are pretty standard on island. You will always see guardrail projects in motion. That's adding guardrail, and all of the normal maintenance on guardrail when a car hits it, because cars hit guardrail every day. Our maintenance crews take care of that. On Kauai, we have 56 people who work for DOT highways here. Big chunk of that 50. Oh, we got the right people here. Yeah, we always use a little help anyway. But we do our best to keep up with those damaged areas, and they do that. They really do. Bridge replacement, Kauai Bridge, that one we're working on, and that design is coming out in 2018, so that'll go under construction. Our folks are handling that here. We have Kauai slope stabilization. I don't know if anybody remembers, back in 2012, we had a major slide over in that area, the Kauai Bridge, and it shut that roadway down for almost, I think we had it down for 18 hours, if I'm not mistaken. It went down at night, and it stayed closed most of the next day until we could get everything cleared out of the way. There's the slopes. When we were in there, we actually discovered more areas that need work, so we will be going back in there and actually pinning that hillside back. So that's a major project. We do highway safety improvements on March 21. Those are nothing more than striping, signage, delineation, things that make that road safer. And when I say safer, nighttime visibility is extremely important. And as I said before, we've done a lot of work on that. Now, let's talk about Kauai, just a few minutes. We actually, and some of you know, or actually probably everybody in the room knows, that acro bridge that we built alongside of the existing bridge, that's the first part of a bigger project that will actually add a lane, and someone's going to yank me off the stage when I get to 20 minutes.
Oh, no, it's supposed to be short.
Okay, I'm good. So I can just talk a long time. But our next project in there is a project we've been trying to get ourselves through the environmental phase on now for several years. And we're there now. We've got money set aside. We want to start bids on that project to add that one more lane from Kumo'o Road back up to this Lagui end of the bypass. So when you come off the bypass, you're right on that. So we're going to get that going next year. We've been promising and promising. We're closer now than we've ever been, so we're going to get that. Also, as part of some other efforts that are ongoing in Kauai, we are doing what they call a Kauai solution study. And that's been a review by a team of folks just like yourselves, and many of the folks in this room may be on some of our efforts. And what we've done is look at different solutions for that area. And the Kauai area is a tough area. It's a tough area from the standpoint of traffic and weather, as you can see when the traffic signals go down, because they do in that area. They get a lot of erosion and salt in them. But what we've come up with, and this is from a working group, one solution is to add another lane to the temporary bypass at the north end. So when you come on into town, you'll be going two ways instead of just the one way at that end. Also, looking at some signalization improvements through the area. So that's a solution, adding that other lane back up to that was on our books anyway, but everybody kept voting for that over and over because it's so important. And we take that one very seriously. It's a priority for us. So we're moving that. And then on the Kamaliki side, let me jump over to that side for a little bit. We've actually, for those of you who really noticed it, you noticed that 4 lanes we did in getting us up into town, into Lagui, and then widening and adding that second bridge. What that did is cleaned up a lot of intersections. It's wider. We added bike lanes, we added sidewalks, because that's important to transportation as well. But we actually made the intersections work better. And on a lot of the roadway projects, we do focus on doing these improvements that make that traffic flow smoother without the interruptions. So when you drive through that area, you'll notice that. But we ended that project at Ananui Street, and we've got a few more projects to go because its overall goal was to get us to the tree tunnel with 4 lanes. And that's expensive, and it'll be a while before we get those done. But we still have them on our books, and we're still focused in that direction. We do have funding constraints, which will control how much work we get done in that area. With that, I don't know if my 20 minutes is up. I ran out of time.
Thank you, Mayor. Now, Scott, come up, homeless coordinator.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to be able to share a little bit with you this evening. I just wanted to share just about the scope of the challenge of homelessness that we're facing here in Hawaii, a little bit about the framework that the state is taking as we address this issue, and some Some examples of success that we've seen just within the past 4 months that I've been on this job as the governor's coordinator in homelessness. So first of all, I just wanted to start by really talking about the scope of homelessness in Kauai. Despite what many people may see in the media, homelessness is not just an issue that's isolated to Honolulu or to Oahu. This is an issue that really touches every part of our state, every island, every county. And just to give some context, according to our most recent point-in-time count, it's estimated that on any given night, there's as many as 7,600 homeless individuals throughout our state. A little bit over half of these are unsheltered, and this number has been increasing from year to year. Just between 2014 to 2015, there's been a 23% increase overall in our unsheltered population statewide. And more troubling to me, there's actually been a 46% increase in the number of unsheltered family households during that same time period. So we're starting to see more and more young children growing up unsheltered, without a roof over their head, without that stability that having a roof over your head and a house provides. And this really is an issue that impacts so many of us. I mean, just as you saw in the poll earlier tonight, when they asked the question about how many people in this room have been impacted directly by the issue of affordable housing and homelessness, was over 80% of those in this room. And in other community meetings that I've been in other parts of our state, it's been a similarly high percentage as well. So how do you solve such a complex issue? How do you solve this issue when Hawaii, as has been reported, oftentimes we have the highest rate of homelessness per capita in the nation? How do you address this? Well, it'll take time. And just as it took, many years for us to get to the point that we are now, with the scope of the problem that we're seeing, it'll likewise take, time for us to really truly be able to find solutions to this issue. Because due to the complexity, there really are no silver bullets. So the framework that the state is using to address this is a simple 3-point framework that really is based on data, coordination, and engaging in dialogue with the community. So just to give you an example of what this means, I wanted to kind of just share some information about some of the work that we've started to do here in Hawaii. So when you look at data, it's really understanding what does the population look like in each island, each community, because we know it looks different on Kauai than it does on Oahu. So on Kauai, there's estimated to be about 340 homeless individuals on any given night. But you see a real difference in the percentage of individuals who are sheltered versus unsheltered on Kauai versus you do in Honolulu. So in Honolulu, you have about maybe only 22% of the population that's unsheltered. Here on Kauai, it's 75%. So 3/4 of the 340 individuals who are homeless on any given night are living on streets, sidewalks, or beaches. And I think that's important for us to acknowledge as we're making decisions about how we allocate our resources to really be able to address the issue on the island. Secondly, the second point of our framework is coordination. Really making sure that whatever we do at the state level is aligned with efforts at the county level as well as efforts by our federal government. So as an example of this, I really have been trying to visit every part of our state, and in particular, have visited Kauai. This is actually my 3rd trip to Kauai within the past month. I've really been working closely with Mayor Carvalho and his administration. I've attended the Mayor's Homeless Solutions Summit, which was held on November 23rd and December 1st, and attended not only by the Mayor and his staff, but also by Councilmember Yukimura and Council Chair Raposo as well. And that really was a gathering to bring together the entire community on Kauai, representatives from the service providers, faith-based sector, county government, to make sure, again, that what we're doing at each of these different levels is coordinated and aligned. And again, I think that's important to make sure that whatever investments we make are really effective. We need to all be moving in the same direction. The third part of the state's framework is community dialogue. Really taking opportunity again to visit every part of our state, engage in discussions like this one this evening, and engage in discussions with every part of our community. whether it's service providers, faith-based leaders, people from the private business sector, and homeless individuals themselves. We really need to get input from the community, again, to recognize the differences in how we address this issue. You know, on Kauai versus how we address it in Honolulu versus how we address it in Maui or on Hawaii Island. So again, you know, the state's framework is a really simple one: data, coordination, and community dialogue. And using this three-point framework, we started to see some early successes. So what are some examples of that? So just within the past few months, you know, or 2 months ago, Governor Ige declared a state of emergency to address homelessness statewide. And through that emergency proclamation, we were able to identify $1.3 million in the current fiscal year budget and release that money immediately into the community to increase the level of funding for evidence-based best practices that we know work, that help quickly transition people who are unsheltered, living on the streets and beaches, into permanent housing right away. So through that allocation of funding, we were able to bring the programs like Housing First to the island of Hawaii. We're able to increase funding for our housing placement program, which helps homeless families with young children, and also increase the level of funding for our emergency grant program, which provides homeless prevention assistance for those who are at immediate risk of falling into homelessness to make sure that they remain stable and are able to keep a roof over their head. The second example of our success and how this framework has worked is we really started to invest more in public-private partnerships. And the good example of this is a little over a month ago in Honolulu, we hosted a landlord summit. And this really evolved through conversations we had with the community, you know, with our state agencies, that we're starting to see, you know, we have so many individuals that receive Section 8 vouchers from Hawaii Public Housing Authority and have real difficulty finding rental units in the private market. And we were brainstorming, you know, with our state agency and with the Association of Realtors, you know, what can we do to really address this issue? We decided to form a partnership with the Association of Realtors and with the service providers. And so we hosted a landlord summit that was attended by over 330 people. And just within 2 days following that event, we were able to secure about 80 units for those who are homeless and living on the street. So there's 80 new units that we added to our. We want to continue to, you know, look at how can we create similar public-private partnerships? How can we similarly engage other sectors from our community to find solutions to problems that we're all commonly facing? And then the third example, I think, is what we're starting to build here on Kauai. You know, the Mayor's Homeless Solutions Summit, I think, really was sort of a catalyst to bring together people from Kauai to really think differently about the issue of homelessness here and really prioritize 5 key things that they believe really have you know, a possibility of moving forward. So I continue to engage in active dialogue, you know, with the mayor and his administration to see how can we build off of the success of the Housing Solutions Summit, and how can we turn some of the suggestions of that group into reality to better address the issue of homelessness here on the island. So again, you know, despite the complexity of homelessness, despite the broad reach it has across our state, I think we need to continue to maintain the forward momentum that we've been making, really look at the, you know, continue to support the framework that the state has taken, really looking at data, better understanding the needs of people, how we're using our existing resources, really invest in coordination, making sure efforts at the federal, state, and county levels of government are aligned, and continuing to get feedback from the community. And I think using this framework, we'll be able to continue to see successes, just as we've seen those 3 examples of success that I've shared with you today. So again, you know, thank you for the opportunity, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them later. Thank you.
Okay, let's see how many questions we can get through. Question number 1, Governor, affordable housing. What do you see to resolve the issue of the crisis our families have that they can't afford housing?
I'll just respond real quickly. A couple of things. We have appropriated about $5 million to support the County of Kauai's legal So we have been working with the county, trying to identify what and how we can support their efforts for affordable housing, and they're making state investments in infrastructure that enables these projects to move forward. Second thing that we are working on is we are appropriating about $38 million into the rental assistance revolving fund. And last session, the state legislature authorized a $40 million infusion of capital into the rental assistance program. And so the state agencies are looking at state parcels that we can make available statewide, and then working with county as well as private sector partners on development of affordable housing projects. So we do hope that that focus in rental assistance is the right space for the state to be in terms of meeting the affordable needs for our community.
What activities is the state undertaking to assess the risk to Kauai, cultural concerns, and the Kauai environment from the proposed Kauai industrial dairy?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Scott Enright. I'm currently serving as the governor's chairperson for the Hawaii Department of Agriculture. The Ulupono's dairy at this point is conceptual. There isn't a cow on the ground there. What I find significant with Ulupono is, Ulupono's working philosophy is that what they do needs to be environmentally sound. So if they do an enterprise like a dairy and it's found not to be environmentally sound, if it would lead to leaching of waste into the watershed, into the aquifer, they would no longer do that business. So I think that's,
Can you let me please answer the question? If you're tired, then you can choose.
All you do is give us your raw we give them in a heat. I have some questions I want to ask. The questions
are really making questions, and we're trying to be fair to everyone who's we'd like to have some respect for all the others who are following the process.
Okay, I go home. That's so much. It's here around.
Thank you very much for coming.
How good the government is doing. This is the interpretation of what we do here.
The Hawaii Department of Agriculture has been working to revitalize the dairy business statewide. That said, the concerns that I've heard expressed from this community will be looked at closely by the State Department of Health, Environmental Health, because that's the agency that will be looking at the water quality issue, which is the main one that I've heard mentioned over the course of the dialogue from the community. I live 1,000 feet from a dairy on the Big Island. So I not only work in ag, I live with ag. And it can be done successfully. I don't have plasma. I don't. It's, but I think that's significant with Ulupono. I find Ulupono to be a credible working partner on agricultural issues. I do.
Well, we don't need the text code for that. That's pretty clear. The next one, Governor, is I have two questions that tie in. The first, shorter about your intentions of supporting the national initiative for tuition-free community college for qualified students. But there's also a question that said, with the high cost of living, with the taxes, medical medical premiums and student debt, how are you going to try to create environment where our children will be able to return and live here?
On the first question, we do know that. I just wanted to note that Scott Marishikian, Director Pressler, has to leave to catch a plane, so they're going to be leaving. But clearly, if we have a question that we can't answer, we can get answers from them. So we are at the state level not able to support the president's initiative for tuition-free community colleges, but we have talked with the university, the fiscal impact, and we just don't have the funds available to enable a free community college. The university has made a significant effort to make tuition assistance available, even at the community college level, and they have been successful in providing financial assistance for community college students as well as four-year programs. The second program that deals with student loans, that's really a federal program, and the state has been aggressive in securing federal funds for students, but we're not in a position to provide loan assistance at this time.
And I also know that the state has been active in communication with our federal delegation, and the key to help bring the cost of college down for the students here in Hawaii would be the Pell Grant program, which is the federal program the governor is referring to. We have one on hunting and resources. Hunting land ratio is impacting the quality of hunting on Kauai. Critical responsive management of our resources is needed by DLNR. How do you get DLNR to be more responsive to the resource users?
Yeah, Galen Falcone, and branch manager for the Division of Forest and Wildlife. I think in that regard, because Kauai is so small, and
Regardless.
we have such a big hunting community, the biggest impact I think we're right now facing is getting access to some of these lands outside and within the Forest Reserve system. And that involves access, formal access over sometimes private land, as well as just over our regular state lands. And it is a big issue on how we get access. And we have only one temporary employee in our administrator's office to address the access issue.
The problem is they fencing off all the game management land.
Studies on the value of local and regional fisheries to the local economy and the dietary needs of local residents of Hawaii. What would be the economic and health effects of closing off or restricting access to and use of marine resources?
With Susan. Susan should be here.
Susan's on big island. I'm Bruce Anderson, I'm learning how to use the equipment here. I'm Bruce Anderson, I'm the new administrator for Division of Water Resources. And I think the issue really focuses around, or question focuses around the INF rules and the issues I've heard from fishermen that restrictions are livelihood and activities. We are leading you are all leading the state and developing management plans for specific fisheries. It's been an interesting process, one that we're all learning from. The governor did approve rules that cover the fishing in that area that are intended to assure sustainable fishing for everyone, for the commercial fishermen, for the recreational fishermen, for the fishermen who are depending on the fish for sustenance and others, visitors and so forth. And we're about to go to public meetings on the management plan for those who live in that area and fishermen who are concerned about management of the fisheries here. I would encourage you to attend those meetings, let us know what your issues and concerns are, because we are still in the process of trying to address these issues through the management plan. The hearings of the management plan are probably going to be taking place somewhere in the February, March timeframe, and we're going to be announcing the date of those hearings in place, of course, sometime probably late in February. So please stay involved, help us better manage the resources and ensure there's fish around for everyone.
Then I have a couple of questions about agriculture, and then there were two related to pesticides that I gave Chair Enright to kind of come into one. So he'll read those on pesticides. This question, so food security, what are you and your cabinet doing to promote food security and sustainable agriculture? And so how can we make affordable agriculture work on Kauai? And then the second question, there was a part too about allowing housing for workers on farms, and that is a county issue, and the council has looked at the issue of farm worker dwellings, and they have ordinances that have been considered at the county level. Governor or Scott?
The first, I'll take on the food security issue. And I think where we need to start when we talk about food security, food sustainability is a defining of terms. And if you all walk into your supermarket and you take a look, the middle of the market where your processed foods are that predominantly are produced with wheat and corn and soybeans, that this state is never going to produce those in the quantities necessary to affect change in that part of the market. Where we can affect change, where the governor's asked the department to do the work to affect change, is what I would call local fresh. That's fresh fruits and vegetables and products from our livestock industries that we need to revive. And that's the work that we're currently doing. The second part of the question, Senate President, how do we affect that change? And, you know, one of the ways that we're doing it and that the governor is helping the department with support with financial resources was growing our ag loan program. Because the private lending institutions are not lending to agriculture. So the state needs to be there with a successful portfolio on its ag loan program to help with startup agriculture, because our mean age of our agriculturalists in the state is 60. To grow agriculture, we need to bring in the next generation of agriculturalists. They're not going to be able to secure financial resources to do a startup of an enterprise without a track record. That's why the state's going to need to step in. There'll be somewhat risky loans, but that's the work that we're going to do. And additionally, providing the resources that are necessary. And on Kauai, the State Department of Agriculture and its Agribusiness Development Corporation as resources. We have resources that will continue to lease out. There's a question here that the Senate President gave me about testing for pesticide residues in soil that were once used for GMO crops, and that would be the Keikaha lands that ADC, the Agribusiness Development Corporation, has on the west side of Kauai. DuPont Pioneer is returning 800 acres of that land with their downsizing that they're currently doing. And there's been an ask to the community to do testing on the soils. So the work that I'm doing currently with CTAR, and this is anticipating the report from the joint fact finding that had been doing the research, a science-based inquiry into the concerns and issues that this community expressed in the course of its testimony with Bill 2491.
I believe that was in the lease from Pioneer to test the soil when they turn it back in.
If I could. So anticipating that there was going to be an ask, the department's working with the University of Hawaii's College of Agriculture, CTAR, and is going to set up testing with UC Davis. And what we need to do is come up with a baseline for tolerance levels, and we're starting to do that work now. So that testing will get done. Governor Ige has asked the Hawaii Department of Agriculture to step up and do additional work on pesticide regulations. And this is work historically that the Hawaii Department of Agriculture has never done. You know, there wasn't soil testing back when Keikaha sugar was on the west side, or, you know, McBride or Louis Plantation. We didn't do that, but it's an ask from the community. The governor's heard you. He's asked us to step it up. And so we're going and we'll start to do some of that testing. And this second question is talking about an investigation of pesticide exposures. You know, again, I'm waiting for the report, which is coming out, I believe, in the next week or two from the joint fact finding, to see what their scientific inquiry came up with about pesticide usage on Kauai, especially on the west side of Kauai, and the asks that they have of the department moving forward. So we'll wait. The JFF should release that report. This community will see it, and the department will move on. Thank you.
And what was the governor's commitment about the positions you're going to collect?
Thank you, Senate President. There'll be a second pesticide enforcement position that will be in place by February, so that we will have 2 enforcement officers. Additionally, there'll be an education position that's going to be put over here that we should have by the end of the year. So that'll make 3 positions on the way. Thank you,
Another transportation question. What are the plans for construction of an interior highway or tsunami evacuation route for Kauai, as all of the coastal routes may not be passable at such times?
Currently, our biggest problem, and I think everybody knows this, climate change is creating a lot of problems for us. Throughout the state of Hawaii, we have a lot of coastal highways, and more as climate change changes and sea rise develops, we need to go in and take care of that. That being said, the first thing we're doing is reinforcing the roads that we do currently have. In the meantime, carbon footprint is a major issue in the state of Hawaii. You have carbon footprint problems at the airports, you have carbon footprint problems with, you have private vehicles. This is something that we need to attack. For us to resolve the problems that we have today, we need to basically take a look at the carbon footprint, the emissions, the green gas, what they just accomplished basically in terms of signing and saying that we're going to be taking a look at this is going to be very important. One of my major concerns right now is that, and I've been getting inquiries, not only within the state of Hawaii, but throughout the world, is about how long before our reef runway at Honolulu International Airport is going to be in the water. And that's something that we need to really be concerned about. What we did this year was we established the first Sustainable Transportation Committee. We had 96 members, basically from about 96 different organizations, including all the counties. Their council member who talked to me a lot to talk to me about sustainable transportation is involved in that. We're going to be looking at that. Our number one goal basically is to find out what is the root of the problem. We don't put a Band-Aid on this is what it comes down to. We don't look at spending a tremendous amount of money developing a road, because at this point in time, we don't know exactly how far to come in. We really need to examine this. We're going to be studying this. I belong to the Hawaii Clean Energy Initiative. I belong to the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum. Again, we started the Hawaii Sustainable Transportation Committee. And one of the things that I'm very proud of is that Just this year, when we came on board, Governor Ige basically told me that I am the sustainable transportation guy for the state of Hawaii. Honolulu International Airport, just in the month of October, 10 months basically into Governor Ige's administration, is only the 10th airport in North America that actually has a airport carbon accreditation that was issued by the Airport Council International. This is something that we've been working on since January, and this is huge. Just imagine, we're the only 10th airport in the entire North America, which includes Canada. Basically, what it means is that we reduced our carbon footprint at Honolulu International Airport. What we've done basically is that we're looking at electric vehicles in terms of towing. We're looking at biodiesel vehicles. We're looking at hydrogen fuel vehicles. Governor Ige basically has hired General Osterman. He's in charge of hydrogen fuel. We're actually going to be coming to Honolulu International Airport. We're going to have one common car rental bus, and in 5 years that will be a hydrogen fuel bus. What we're doing is that, I don't know if you know what's called PC air, which is preconditioned air. One of the biggest problems at airports is that when you pull up, you run the engine, because of the fact that you need to keep the airplane cool while passengers are loading and unloading. We're actually going to put preconditioned air units on every single loading bridge, and that basically energy will be coming from renewable energy such as windmills and PV panels. So that's some of the things that we're doing to go ahead and try to take care of this problem. The problem basically is that we can't just build roads anymore. We need to find out what the problem is, and we need to resolve that as we move along in terms of building the roads. Sorry, I took for long there.
Thank you, Governor. Part of the 2014 campaign platform is labeling genetically modified foods. What action has your administration taken to label GMO foods for our state and nation? Well, he's not in charge of the nation, so directed to the state.
Well, the labeling of foods is really determined by the federal government, and we have encouraged the federal government to change the labeling requirement. We have supported the federal food administration requiring labels that identify GMO product appropriately, and we continue to advocate that the federal government change the labeling regime to require labeling of GMO food.
For those of you who have patiently waited to hopefully get to your question, I thank you very much for the respectful manner that you have been here. I know we're running toward the end of the time. The governor said he's going to stay here a little longer than what was advertised, but I know that we had several questions, and they're going to require two different answers, but so that they get asked. We have the question relative to the recent Nelson case and the Department of Homelands, and also the issue now that the Supreme Court has ruled, and the 30-minute telescope and the cultural issues. And I just want everyone to know that I was asked to come here by the governor, but given no instructions to try to go through the questions, to try to, deflect anything or not put anything up. They said read them as they come in, and he's here, and I truly respect the forthright, transparent way that he's trying to conduct the meetings. Governor.
First, starting with the Nelson case on the Hawaiian homelands, we are reviewing the court directions concerning the Nelson case, and then we will be evaluating what the state's options are on proceeding forward, and what specifically the court is requiring the executive to do about funding for administrative and program costs in the Hawaiian homelands. So we hope to get instructions from the court about how to proceed before too far into the legislative session, and then we will be making an assessment about how best to proceed.
And Governor, I forgot, the second part was about transferring of funds, so it wouldn't be transferred, but it would be part of the budgeting process. The governor and the legislature, when we reconvene next month, then we have to go through the budgeting process to put the money in.
Yeah, yes, that's correct. In regards to the 30-meter telescope project, again, the state agencies have been reviewing the Supreme Court decision and determining what changes are required to the process that the landlord uses for contested case hearings. We are also waiting for further direction from the courts about what specific action is required on the permit application for the 30-meter telescope project. So we do hope to get the specific court directions soon so that we know what changes are required by our agency. So I just wanted to note, I'll be staying, but a couple of the other cabinet members have to catch a plane. So I just wanted to thank them for their participation, and I will be staying and responding to questions for a bit longer.
Here's an easy one after that, Governor. How can we diversify our economic base so we're not solely dependent on tourism?
Thank you for that question. We are doing a couple of things, and I was able to meet with the students to talk about. We do know that the University of Hawaii system and Kauai Community College, as part of that system, is very important part to diversifying the economy. It does start with education and then working with the communities to identify what job opportunities and future economic activity is most appropriate. This past session, the legislature had authorized a couple of things that I think are directly related to diversifying our economy. First, we did work with the Chamber of Commerce to initiate a manufacturing grant program for businesses in Hawaii that are looking to make investments in their manufacturing facilities for export to the broader market. So we have that grant program that is being run by the High Tech Development Corporation, looking at how we can provide assistance to small, medium-sized businesses to increase exports. The second thing that we are working on is the Small Business Innovation Grant Program, again, with the support of the legislature, looking for those, how we can support those small businesses that have been awarded a competitive innovation grant from the federal government. We're looking to providing grant funds to these businesses so that they can take their products from a phase 2, which is proof of concept, to phase 3, which really gets to commercialization and hope to be able to get and create more jobs. So it really is about investing in the university system to support innovation, and then working through the High Tech Development Corporation and other state agencies to support investments in manufacturing and then innovation with federal research dollars.
And specifically for Kauai, in the High Tech Development Corporation, the governor has hired Warren Doi, who is in Princeville. So he brought his business card by yesterday, and he is the resource if you need help to go through the process, how to fill out applications, how to talk about the business plan, where should you go to get some legal assistance. He's your person here in Kauai, so you can look for him at the website, or you can call the governor's office, call one of your legislators' offices, and we'd be happy to put you in touch with Warren. The purpose of his meeting was to say, the governor has put me in charge of this job. Please have people call me. I'd like to be of assistance. Solar tax credits, will there be solar tax credits? Will they be extended past 2016?
I think that that question is currently before the legislature, and, you know, we are looking at that. We are working and looking also with the Public Utilities Commission. As you know, there is a number of issues that impact solar industry that currently is before the commission for action. They just recently issued an order that dealt with the net energy metering projects and how that would move forward. And they did place a cap on the individual home PV installations. So again, we'll be working with the legislature to make a determination about whether the state PV tax credits will be extended.
Let me ask that question, I just want to ask one more piece, which is, I've heard that the state legislature is considering a tax credit for battery storage. Is there a speed on that?
So the question was whether the legislature is considering inclusion of battery storage in the solar tax credit program. And I do know that there are legislators looking at including storage. As we move toward the 100% renewable goal, we do know that storage is the key component that we don't have a lot of currently in the network and in the grid. So there definitely is consideration for if we do extend the credits for inclusion of storage systems as part of the tax credit program.
Space industry, PRRF recently launched the first rocket with the goal of putting a satellite into orbit. Is there a demand for space operations in Hawaii?
Yes, we do believe that space is a viable part of a diversified economy. I will be making proposals in the next budget, in the supplemental budget that I'm getting ready to send to the legislature that will stabilize funding for the Office of Space. As you know, the legislature had also passed the unmanned aerial vehicle program, looking at establishing Hawaii as a test bed for drones on a going forward basis, and that also reports to the Office of Space. So there definitely is a future for space activities in the state of Hawaii, and we will be strengthening the Office of Space Development going forward.
And I'm gonna, well, before I get to that one, because there is a question about the Agribusiness Development Corporation seeking to exempt themselves from the NPDES permit in West Kauai.
So Earth Justice.
The clean water.
Earth.
Okay.
There was a lawsuit brought by Earth Justice against the Agribusiness Development Corporation, which is the development arm. It's an attached agency to the Hawaii Department of Agriculture. And they've been charged with managing the lands in Keikaha that the Te State took back from Keikaha Sugar. And the irrigation system that's attached to that, that was maintained by Keikaha Sugar and is now maintained by the Keikaha Agricultural Association, who runs it. There was a question about the amount of water that was being left in the river system. And so that's the question, what was getting kept from its natural course and being used in irrigation. It appears that that is close to settlement. Earth Justice, working with the Water Commission, they've found common ground and they're about to settle that lawsuit.
How many people are here to hear about the dairy?
Well, I think that Chair Enright answered the question. I think that. We'll get to it. It didn't seem like you liked his response that he thought you put us there. He also responded that they are going through an EIS process, that they need to go through the Department of Health, that they need to review all of the materials that are going to be submitted and the review that will be done. But certainly, after we get to this one last question, if Director or Chair Enright would like to add something to it, or the Governor, then we'll certainly give them a second bite at the apple. But Governor, there was a question, and I'm going to summarize it. Do you see the future of healthcare being bare bones, or is it going to still be a rural healthcare options that are available to the state hospital system?
I do believe that the rural healthcare system is undergoing transformation. As you may be aware, the Maui Regional Board of the Hawaii Health Systems Corporation had initiated and got approved by the state legislature legislation that allows us to transition to private operation of the facilities in the Maui region. That's Maui Memorial Hospital, Kula Community Hospital, and Lanai Community Hospital. We are in the final stages of negotiating an agreement with Kaiser to set up a new corporation to manage the Maui facilities. And I do believe that private management of the facilities can provide enhanced healthcare at the same or reduced cost for the people of Hawaii. So I do believe that there are other regions that are interested in pursuing this. We should know whether we can conclude an agreement soon. And then we will see, hopefully, about how private management of healthcare facilities can provide better services at reduced costs to the general public.
Chair Enright, do you have anything else? And I would like to say I was specific when I read the question, and I would read it verbatim because it was clear from whoever wrote the question I read relating to the dairy that they felt it was an industrial dairy, and I thought it was important to convey the tenor of the question and not edit the question in any way, but simply read it. So anyway, Chair Enright,
let me just add one thing before turn over. I did meet with several members who have concerns about the dairy, and they had asked to make sure that the state would provide fair and independent evaluation of any application or environmental impact statements that are filed on behalf of the dairy. I don't believe that there is any specific application or permit that currently sits before any state agency at this time. So I don't believe that there's any state action. I do know that there has been a proposal made, and I don't know exactly what the status is right now, but I don't believe that it's currently sitting before any state agency for action. I did agree when I met with the residents who had expressed concern that the state agency would provide an independent assessment of whatever material is provided as part of the permitting application. I just wanted to.
I think the EIS process could take up months or more before they have the report that they want to submit for the Department of Health or Office of Environmental Quality to review.
Yeah, that's correct, Governor and Senate President. The EIS that Ulupono is doing on Hawaiian Dairy Farm is not required by any state agency. They're doing that to answer the concerns of the citizens of Kauai. So they're doing that to try to show that they want to be a good citizen. Questions from the audience? We take questions, Senate President?
As a member of the delegation, I was supposed to be part of the delegation that met with the governor in September. I have a specific question in there, and I believe that a number of members of the audience here have specific questions that they propose and they ask to be addressed. Not that one question be picked out of the group and reiterated upon, but that the questions that these members of the Kauai audience have proposed, that they be addressed and considered, even briefly. Please, thank you.
So I just, as I said, I don't believe that there is any application sitting before any state agency concerning the dairy, and that's why, I don't know how to respond explicitly until we do have our permit request. So I do know that there are many questions regarding the location of the dairy. We definitely can, until there is actually a formal application of the project, I wouldn't really know how to respond to these questions. I mean, so it's not, and I don't know if there's a simple way to answer, but if you have
someone would please just read the questions, sure, so that they're heard.
So here's one. Why would it ever be all right to put an industrial dairy in a prime visitor destination or near hotels and homes? What will happen to our wild ocean and wildlife? And again, until there's a formal permit application, I wouldn't know how to respond to that. HDF, I don't know what HDF is. Claims the waste will be kept on the farm, but 50% of the soil is clay-based, and there will be enormous amounts of runoff, millions of pounds of manure monthly. So again, this is probably one of those questions that we will have to wait for the environmental impact statement and what the specific application to be filed before we would know or understand how that would be responded to. HDF claims their dairy is sustainable, but they plan to import grain, fertilizers, pesticides, and export the milk for processing and sales elsewhere. Please address this hugely impactful issue. Again, I haven't really seen what the specific plan is, so I'm not certain. I assume that the environmental impact statement would address some of these. The specific operations is something that they would have to explain as part of their permit application. And so I haven't been apprised of what the specific operations of the dairy would be.
Please ask a question about the specialized population on the west side, healthcare provider.
Sure. I mean, I don't know if there's other specific questions you would want to ask about the dairy.
My name is Martin Hoffman. I'm a primary care provider. I help taking care of people on the west side. If you call elementary school, there's close to 350 students. 50 of those are special education students. There are 90 pesticides sprayed in the vicinity of the school. is, say, autism is devastating to a family, a community, and also economically devastating. The cost of one person with autism after a lifespan or through a lifespan is $2.4 million. To sum this up economically, for an autism disorder, they come out of the school, it will cost the state $120 million in present time to care for people. I am a healthcare provider, think it's an urgent matter. How is this urgent work in this situation being addressed?
You know, we definitely can look into the specifics of autism in your community. I do know that the legislature passed last session, and I approved including autism and services for health services for autistic children in the basic requirement for health insurance. So we definitely are working to provide services for children. Yes, and I was just getting back, and we don't know enough specifically about what the situation is, so if you can provide the information, we can do further research on it.
I have a question. I mean, everybody's issues are very good. I have a question that has to do with a train. My name is Matt Bernard, and I noticed that over the last 4 to 5 years, we haven't been getting our TAP tax, the transit accommodation tax. And yet, you guys still obligated to give CIP projects, granted funding to certain individuals and certain groups. And you kind of dictating what's going on with our county. Kind of hamstringing if we come along and we want to plan our infrastructure, what we're using for our general funds. But no, we have projects like a well in Mole One, that a private owned group gets to dig their own well, when they're on a state-run well that has a bad lease holdup. And so there's just no common sense going on in how you guys spending our money. And if you're going to go and pay the movie industry $19 million, when and they're making, we only made $19 million and we paid them $34 million in 2014. I'm not sure about this stuff. But we're paying them to go make money, and we're not spending our money well. And you guys are doing like CIP projects all over Kauai, and you're not giving us our money to dictate what we do with it. Granted, if we fail, granted, if we succeed, we should have that money, and not you guys thinking where it goes. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that question. We are providing the county of Kauai the transit accommodations tax that is designated for the county as provided by law. So we have not lowered the amount of tax that the county has received. I know I serve as a dean, so we've never lowered the amount. You know, we have, legislature has placed a cap on the amount that is provided to the counties, and that amount has been distributed as required by law. So,
Fix the roads, and we're like putting a cap out there, when every commercial has all of that coastline in it. We're advertising on your guys' tourist agenda, and we're taking the brunt of it, and we're not allowed to dictate how we spend our money. And you sit here, and yeah, we're not getting it, but you guys tap it, and is it my imagination, and then everybody's had the dialogue for the last 5 years with 12 million yes?
There are always.
On the record, the county council meeting, we discussed it. We've been wrong the last couple of years. Why hasn't the state come forward and said, hey, wait a minute, let's put out the numbers and show you what we're doing? I can say, I see a lot of 17 projects that you guys are dictating what's happening over here.
Well, we are working with your county representatives in terms of identifying support or which projects to support, and you know, we will continue to provide the county's share of transit accommodations.
if you look at the report that was filed, the county of Kauai and the water department asked for $4 million to upgrade the Hanapepe water line so that Lipaola could also be developed to have the affordable housing occur. The county had asked for almost $1.4 million to improve the intersection at Kamali Highway so that the children who are going to be in that new affordable housing subdivision can get safely to Eliali School. The county asked for $700,000 to upgrade the emergency broadcast system and the 800 megahertz that was funded. With the Veterans Council and the County of Kauai, they asked for $400,000 to upgrade the Veterans Cemetery, and then they asked for $1.5 million or so to ensure that every bus stop has a shelter here on Kauai. So every request that came up from the joint approval of the mayor and the county council was in fact funded by the legislature and realized as something that would be important for Kauai. Those were CIP decisions made on behalf of the request from the county and talking with the governor, with the mayor, with the council. Thank you. Do we have any other questions?
Yeah.
I think I'd like to ask a question here. This is a question that you brought up, and I don't think it was clearly answered. This is about the Agricultural Development Corporation. Just recently, I believe this is in their August minutes, they are claiming that they are exempt from the Clean Water Act, which requires monitoring, reporting, and public disclosure requirements under the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, called the NPDES. This is federal law, Clean Water Act. This is millions of gallons of water being dumped at Kinikini, Nohili on the west side. Our fisheries, our reefs, our fishermen, our surfers have no say on this because the ADC Corporation feel that they are exempt from a federal law. Your Honor, Honorable Ige, I heard you comment that you follow the federal guidelines on labeling. I would hope that you honor the federal guidelines on the Clean Water Act so we know what kind of waters is being discharged into our oceans. And knowing that most of these, the 22 restricted use pesticides are very devastating to aquatic life, as written on their labels. So we're talking federal law where our state agency has allowed to exempt themselves from federal law Clean Water Act. This is ADC Corp. August minutes meeting of this past year. Could you answer that question? It has nothing to do with Earth Justice. Earth Justice wants to put water back into the river. This is about polluted water being discharged on a daily basis, 20 million gallons with no permit.
I believe our legal counsel has moved on from that position, which is why we're settling with Earth Justice. And additionally, if I could, the Kauai Department of Agriculture paid the Department of Health to do a water sampling survey of surface waters around the state, but specifically on the west side of Kauai, to see if there was the kind of runoff from pesticide usage on the west side. And we found everything to be way below tolerance in that study. Additionally, we'll continue that study going forward so that we'll have annual data. We have a baseline at this point. So we did not find the heavy runoff that was talked about in 2491 in the study that was conducted.
I just would like you to follow the federal guideline because under the State Department of Health, they made it voluntary. There's no public disclosure. There's no transparency as stated in Governor Ige's webpage. There's no transparency with the State Department of Health. By the way, I'm a Hawaiian home subdivision. State Department of Health built our homes on contaminated lands.
Amen.
Okay? Where's the State Department? We're talking about transparency, accountability of the people, the agencies that are there to protect us and our environment.
I have a question about water quality as well. It appears that the Grove Farm sewage sludge dump on the South Shore is leaching into Mahalapu. And I've been in contact with the Department of Health with it over some months. And they're supposed to pinpoint the leaching and do something about it. Where are they on that?
My home. If you can just provide us the specific details, we can check with the Department of Health on what the status is.
Excuse me, Your Honor, according to the Department of Health, buying land, I live also on the west side of Hawaiian homeland. And they did an independent test. There is arsenic, there is lead, there is mercury above the state allowable level. Yet the HHL, part of your agency, they buy it and they gotta go find a contractor to figure this out. How much does human life cost to your administration? Thank you.
Yes, so if you could provide us with the specific information, we will check with the department. Thank you very much.
But I want to shift it just a little bit because I have one question about housing and one question about the municipal commission. My first question about housing is I tried to get a lot past 10 years ago, trying to prevent discrimination of the housing against undocumented applicants. The idea was to make sure that in the public, when they ask for someone at the newspaper for rental, they are not allowed to say no HUD allowed. And I believe that this will help a lot. Our housing is full. There are years waiting lists on Kauai to get any project on Kauai. There are people out there who are renting houses and rooms and all kinds of things and not able to they cannot afford a place to rent outside of state and public housing, which leaves all the people their only option is a better situation, of which we have no security in our state public housing and no extreme low income or low income housing that's lived here in more than 30 years. Affordable housing is no longer affordable for the people. And I say this from trying to talk about these issues for many, many decades. So I would like to know what your opinion is about what we'll do to help people so that we can have better housing. And I want to say what I think about homeless. A lot of our homeless do not come from here. They're getting on the planes every single day. They're going to work in those places on those farms and living in tents and they want to back to their home. And so this is what I observed here on the week. And one more thing too, I had a two-part question. I'm going to ask a lot here, but on the White Rose Commission, I have something very strong to say. Had a resolution, he had a way to run this when it was a country. When this was a country, it involved all of the people, not just the white people, but the white people who cared for first. So I feel that it is unfair to say, are we going to create a nation because a nation involves everyone. We need to take care of that white people and it's their right only. A Hawaiian Gold Commission is wrong and hella. It did nothing to take care of the Native American people and it has nothing but problems. So if we're going to talk about a nation, why don't we be a nation and follow the Kauai's Constitution and that's that?
Let me just say that, as you may be aware, the United States Supreme Court just placed an injunction on the elections for the election of delegates to a constitutional convention. And so the United States Supreme Court would be deciding on whether the election is appropriate. So we'll see what happens. We would be happy to look at any legislation regarding federal housing vouchers. But we did 2 weeks ago have a summit of landlords and landowners to explain the federal vouchers that are currently available in our community and have asked the landlords and landowners to be willing to rent their properties to those who hold federal vouchers And the initial response was terrific. 80 landlords have agreed within a few days to rent to those holding vouchers. And we continue to work with Hawaii Realtors Association to increase the landlords and landowners who are willing to rent to those who do have federal vouchers. So we'll continue to work in that area.
Excuse me, sir, but when I tried to write this law and get it passed in the state legislature with my daughter, the people who went against this legislation was the realtors, and guess what, even the government. So I know that that is incorrect. And I can tell you that I know a lot of people on Kauai, mothers, single mothers with children, that whole families who cannot find a place to rent because nobody will rent to them and they only have 3 months and are about to lose their vouchers and they're going to be absolutely homeless. It is a revolving door on Kauai because there's one homeless shelter that can only take in 20 people. We have plain old the people who are landing every day and they're inundated with I can tell you this is what's going on. And we are never going to get housing for our people this way. We need to do some sort of rent control. We need to prevent landlords from discriminating against voucher holders. Because when myself and my daughter went to do this legislation, we made phone calls to more than 250 people on Kauai, pretending to be different people. And we heard all kinds of discriminatory and racist comments against federal law as to why they would not even consider letting us go ahead and even talk to them about it. We pretended to be different people. Somebody from California who just had a job here, and they wanted to rent, but they were to go. When we said we were a local people from Kauai that wanted the housing, they would shut us down every time. So I'm going to tell you that I'm speaking to you for real, and this is what's really going on. And it needs to end, and it needs to stop, and the realtors aren't going to help, and they're not going to help. The state needs to stay, so the people will not be discriminated anymore on housing. And there will be some sort of a stopping of everybody landing here and throwing us out of our own opportunity. I'm so sorry, I hope that I'm being disrespectful. I really respect you, and I did vote for you. But I just want to say that this is very important. I've been fighting for this for decades every single year, and I feel proud.
Who should we leave our information with for your office to get contact with us?
Let's speak of something of electric generation. I'd like to offer $100,000 to generate electricity for Hawaii. And I'd like to know how to plug it in, because it's as simple as I pull up. My name is Larry Meyer. I'm an inventor. I've invented tens of millions of dollars, and I'm giving it all away. I have something to give to Hawaii. It's electric generation without burning oil. It's a propeller, has all the ship. It spins in the ocean current off the island. You don't touch the island. It's safe. It spins by the ocean current alone. There's a current north and south side of the island. I'm not asking the state for anything. Governor, I love you. I would love to see you as president. If you wish. I'm not saying ever again. If you wish. One topic, 1 second. We can generate free electric and give it to Kauai. Sorry. I just need a place to plug in my extension cord. And Mark Zuckerberg and our you guys, thank you for helping me with this. I'm using all my money. By the way, I'm a disabled American. I've given everything. I've lost my family. Everything over this to be here and to give to you, because it's all I do. It's all I know how to do. I'm a 9th grade dropout. It doesn't matter. I've worked with PhDs and engineers all the time in the past, and I've created this money. Now, that's my credibility. That is my wish, my offer. Please help me. The question is, will you help me with this? Will the tribe help me with this?
So, Carice Castillo-Gardner is the governor's liaison in Kauai. So their office is at the state building, the 3-story building, and her number is in the front of the phone book under state agencies. In the front of the phone book, you have the governor's office on Oahu. You also have the number to reach any of your state legislators. And so any additional questions, if you forward them, I'd like to thank the governor and the cabinet members for coming.
Let's give those of you